So, dear fellow bishops, dear brothers and sisters, before giving my own talk, I just want to say that listening at the last session, it reminded me that just over a year ago, Pope Francis was sitting at the head, you might say, head table, and was watching the synodal bishops and other delegates from all over the world. And today, from heaven, he saw you gathered in a similar way. And I know that his prayer and the wish of Pope Leo is that each bishop here would have the same experience of sitting at the head table and seeing the priests of his diocese and the other pastoral agents gathered in synodal discussion like you were today. And then that every parish priest would see his parish in synodal assembly. That's how synodality is supposed to filter in throughout the church. And so this, I say this also to dedicate this talk to the happy memory of Pope Francis, and with the very warm greetings of Pope Leo. And my own greetings too. As many of you know, I spent 8 years in Africa, living in Nairobi, and heading up the Jesuit AIDS network. And so I'm always very, very, very happy to be back in Africa and to feel once again at home here. So I will give a kind of introduction to the work of our Decastery, and two of the colleagues will also share some experiences. There will be a video which tells you how we are working, and if things go well, we'll have time for some dialogue at the end. The Curia serves both the Holy Father and the bishops. This is an essential, maybe the most essential point of the reform of the Curia that Pope Francis launched. That the Curia is not there between you and the Holy Father, but that we, the Roman Curia, are at his service and at yours. It's very important to try to adjust our image so that we understand that the Curia is at your service as well as of the Holy Fathers. And we want to help you to carry out the Church's mission to proclaim the gospel to all creation. That's why the decree of reform is called Predicate Evangelium, preach the gospel. That is the heart of the matter, and that is what we need to always keep in mind and ask ourselves, is this helping to bring the gospel to every corner of this universe? Because that's what Jesus told us to do, to all creation. There's nothing left out that doesn't need the gospel. There are three dicasteries which have this mission in their name. The dicasteries for evangelization. And listen to these three words and see how they're meant, how they're equivalent. Dicastery for evangelization, dicastery for charity, and dicastery for integral human development. These are three different ways, you might say, of identifying the mission of the church. Why? What is the church trying to do? And all three take up the mission of Christ, who came so that all may have life and have it to the full. That all may have life and have it to the full. And all three express this mission of the church to evangelize human societies everywhere. This is perhaps the key challenge of our dicastery, is that our evangelization is not of individuals or of local communities, but that we seek to evangelize society. And this is something relatively new in the life of the church, and we are still learning how to do it, to evangelize society. The dicastery was established by Pope Francis in 2017, and it expresses the Church's renewed commitment to all dimensions of integral human development. Our inspiration comes from the gospel, a church of the poor and with a preferential option for the poor. This gospel commitment takes the church into various fields of concern, brings the church into areas of concern of society. I'm going to now read a list of these concerns, and the important thing is for you to identify which one or two or three are most relevant in your diocese. Listen to this list from your point of view. Violations of human dignity and human rights. Economic and social injustices. Insecurity and violence. Unemployment and exploitation. Environmental degradation. The problems of displacement and humanitarian emergencies. Criminality and threats to democracy. Traffic in persons. Sickness. Insecurity. Drugs. Arms. And unfortunately, the list goes on. These are all obstacles to the integral human development of our people. The important thing is not to know the whole list. The important thing is to know which are the principal obstacles in my diocese and in my region. So in our Decastery, we focus on these specific obstacles in each diocese, in each conference. And we stand ready to help you, the pastors and their co-workers, the pastors and co-workers, to pastorally accompany your people in confronting these obstacles. Your vocation is not to solve these problems. Your vocation is to accompany your people in facing these problems. It's very, very important to be clear about this. Otherwise, you feel that you're being burdened with something enormous that's way beyond your capacities and your time and energy and resources. No, your vocation, our vocation in the church, is to accompany people in their quest for integral human development. Pope Leo XIV has taken up this approach and has given it a new impetus. For example, he has said regarding artificial intelligence, he wishes the Church to help assess artificial intelligence in the light of the integral development of the human person and society. What is our point of view with regard to an innovation like artificial intelligence? We want to make sure that this really contributes to the integral human development of our people, that it doesn't damage it, and that it not be reserved for only a few. This is how we need to look at innovation such as AI, and this is what Pope Leo is asking us to do. Now, I'm going to take 4 or 5 minutes to meditate with you on the word development and try to follow along and see what do you think is development. Because if we have a shared understanding, then the Decastery can be in good collaboration with you. And if we have very diverse ideas, we'll get mixed up. So development often refers to gross domestic product, and it measures a country's economic productivity. But this is merely an economic measure, which leaves aside or overlooks all the broader and deeper dimensions of human flourishing. You can say that a country has a huge gross domestic product, but if it's limited to 1% of the population, then that doesn't mean that the country is developing. In a similar way, development can also be a synonym for prosperity and consumption. It measures the material well-being of the population, or at least some of them, but ignores many important human, spiritual, social, and cultural dimensions of life. And Africa is, I think, especially called to help humanity to recognize the different and important dimensions of life that are not just economic. Moreover, and this is important, I think, among us bishops, the term development is often associated with specific projects. You say development, you think projects. Projects which are funded and guided by foreign governments and by NGOs or foundations which are more or less connected with the Church. That's true, many of us are concerned about development in that sense, but that's not what development means in the name of our Decastery. So now I'll reflect a bit on what I think we could share as the shared understanding. Saint Irenaeus said that the glory of God is man fully alive. God's glory is manifested and communicated in the fullness of human life, which means meeting the material and spiritual needs of the human being. You can't say life, abundant life, or life to the full, and say, well, I just mean the spiritual part. Then you're not using the word life correctly. Life is not just spiritual. It is spiritual, but it is also material, cultural, social, interpersonal, and so forth. Integral human development needs to include all these. So the Church recognizes the central importance of full human flourishing, another synonym for integral human development. It's Pope Paul VI who first used this expression in Popularum Progressio. And listen to what he said. It sounds to me so prophetic. To be authentic, development must be well-rounded, integral, well-rounded. It must foster the development of each man and of the whole man. Today we would say of each person and the whole person. Just to meditate on what these two words, each person and the whole person and every person, you see, you begin to understand that development is not a private prosperity, it's not private consumption, it's not a few people having a lot of money. It's that we are all developing together. And that unless everyone is developing, no one is really properly developing. So we would say the development of each person, the whole person, and everyone, including future generations. We cannot call ourselves developed if we're using up everything that the planet has in such a way that our children or grandchildren will be born into a desert. Integral human development includes future generations. It's about the fullest flowering of people's potential. The fullness of life, which is our human vocation, is found in the cross and resurrection. Do you see how far we are from gross domestic product? The fullness of the human vocation is revealed in the mystery of the cross and the resurrection. Jesus gave himself totally for us, and we are called to do the same for others, especially for those who need our help. This understanding of development, of life and of development, is far beyond gross domestic product or consumerism or even projects. The cross and resurrection remind us that true development includes self-giving love. How would you say, could you measure a person's development? You could say from this point of view, radically, a person is developed insofar as he or she can make a gift of himself to others. That's real development, that we are able to give ourselves to others. The cross and resurrection remind us that true development includes self-giving love, solidarity with others, the pursuit of the common good. It is not just about achieving material success or personal fulfillment. It is about living a life of purpose and meaning rooted in our relationship with God and with others. This is the mystery hidden within the term integral human development, growing towards the ever greater gift of oneself. So we see how this expression expresses the Church's commitment to the full development of its own people and of all people, addressing not just material needs, but also spiritual, social, and cultural dimensions. It is a challenging and hopeful idea. It is deeply rooted in our faith, faithful to our tradition, and central to the Church's mission. Moreover, such development is a universal human concern. As I said at the beginning, our Decastery works to help bishops and their co-workers to identify the obstacles to the integral human development of their people and to accompany them. This orients the church to engage with the real challenges that people face within their specific culture and situation. If we had more time, we could have a workshop just on this, or a synodal discussion of how you see your people in terms of their integral development. And I'm sure that spontaneously all of you will think of all the people within your diocese, not just the registered or practicing Catholics. Because you can't have your Catholics developing if their neighbors are not. That makes no sense whatsoever. So it's a look, a regard, a view of your people from the point of view which is most important to them, because every one of us wants to develop. No one is born who says, I don't want to develop. It's a contradiction. Our vocation, our human vocation, is to develop. A crucial point to understand is that no one can develop someone else. No one can develop someone else. Parents help their children to develop, but they do not develop them. If some parents said that they developed their child, you would say, you don't know the meaning of language. You can't do that. You can't develop your children. You can help them to develop, or you can make it more difficult for them to develop, but you can't develop them. And so too, every human being is responsible for their own development. Similarly, the Church promotes integral human development, but the people themselves are the primary agents of their own development. Our role is to accompany people in overcoming the obstacles, and remember the list of obstacles we started with, and what are the obstacles in your diocese. So to accompany our people in facing the obstacles to their development. And here's another very important point. This accompaniment is pastoral. It is not political. It is not sociological. It is pastoral. You are doing the pastoral work of the Church. If you feel that you're being put into the role of a political or social leader, there's something wrong. This is not your vocation as a bishop. It's not our vocation as church people to be the leaders. Our vocation is to accompany so that people can develop. Celebrating the 50th anniversary, since its beginning in 1975, Imbisa has been guided by Gaudium et Spes. This indicates that full development flows from life in Christ. While economic development is of great importance, our concept must be broader and deeper than the narrow certainties of the world's dominant economic actors and financial institutions. In this spirit, the Decastery supports the pastoral initiatives and advocacy of local churches in favor of true development. Gaudium et Spes does not propose a technique for analyzing reality. Rather, it provides a model for the Church as close to the world, situated in history, perceiving and comprehending the signs of the times which the Holy Spirit brings to light in the course of human time and action. By the way, this text will be available to you after, so if you want to go back to it, don't worry about what's difficult to follow, just listening. And now I'm coming to the final point before we will look at a video. And this connects our mission in the Decastery with your slogan, Gaudium et Spes, as the motto of Imbisa. Each diocese, think of yourself as a bishop or as a co-worker of the bishop. Each diocese, each conference, each bishop, each co-worker seeks to listen to the joys and the hopes, the griefs and the anxieties of the people of this age, especially of your area, and especially those who are poor or in any way afflicted. Since this is your motto, you must know this first sentence of Gaudium et Spes by heart. And it expresses very well the vocation that we're trying to share. These include the blessings received and the good practices undertaken, which should be shared and multiplied. They also include, especially people's griefs, anxieties, and sufferings, which the Church accompanies as people seek to overcome them and develop humanly, integrally, physically, socially, and spiritually. Accordingly, the Decastery strives to furnish you with dynamic support to your local church in your discernment, planning, and action aimed at human development in all its dimensions. And now, if you would like, we will show you a brief video which explains the work of our Decastery.